Good morning, Light Ministries. Wow. Now I'm very present. Thank you, Gina Renee, for setting up the tone with the musical inspiration. Just so grateful for your gifts in the world. And thank you, oh my gosh, my choir wife. I love that. Elaine is my choir wife. We rock the world together with the choir for that wonderful introduction. I am so grateful to be here with you today, and there's everything that I prepared, and then there's what we're going to co-create together. So to make this a really phenomenal day, I just want to get your permission to, because when I talked about the 5 elements, right? In my leadership program, I teach the 5 elements of Chinese medicine. So I'm going to bring some of that content in a little bit. But the way that I like to lead people is more interactive. It's called experiential learning. So sometimes I might have you high-five each other, or place your hands on your heart, or do something really woo-woo. Is that okay with you? Excellent. I'm in the right place. Okay, good. So I always like to start off, whenever I have a chance to be in front of a room, I like to start off with a powerful question. So the question for you today is, are you available for joy? Are you available for joy? Just thank you for answering, and just do a little internal assessment. Like, check on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being like, joy, where is that joy right now? Okay, that's a 1. And with 10 being like, woohoo, like I'm in joy. Yeah, okay, so just notice where you are without judgment. You know, because I'm continuing this conversation, this thread that we've been on, that Rev D started, that joy is a choice. And that we must build the resilience to keep choosing joy no matter what. Are you on board with that? Yes. So we know, just through the work that we do here at Light Ministries, that we are all channels. We are imagining yourself as an open channel for light and love and joy to live through in every moment. And as we go through life, even though we know that life is happening through us, it's not happening to us, sometimes, like, circumstances happen, and it really feels like life is happening to us, right? And we, like, filter those circumstances and conditions through our thoughts and our like, behaviors, and they become beliefs and things like that. And we start to fill that channel up, and it starts to weigh us down, right? So that's okay. It's just noticing it takes practices such as prayer, meditation, dance, song, movement, right? It takes communicating and talking with people, and maybe getting a therapist once in a while, whatever you need to keep that channel clear. That's what we want to do. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so I want us to right now just take a moment and claim the joy that's here. So take a moment, put your hands on your heart and breathe in. And say with me, I give myself permission to experience joy right now. Yes. Just let that sink in. Let the truth of that, without judgment. Whew. When you start to feel that permission, you might also start to notice the places in your life where you might be keeping yourself from your joy. You might be noticing the reasons, the circumstances, and the conditions that right now are happening in your life that get in the way of that joy. Yeah. So just notice what's keeping you from that joy. And I want you to know you get to have it right now, no matter what. Now, you might be looking at me and going, well, you know, Sarah, you're a pretty happy-go-lucky gal. I think you must have a really happy life, right? And it's true. I don't know the conditions of your life. I don't know the circumstances of your life. But I do know the circumstances of my life. And I do know the things that I've been up against. So I know what it takes for me to keep returning to choosing joy no matter what. And it's really funny, when I was asked to speak here today, it was like, yes, of course. Like, I want to talk to Light Ministries. What a great thrill, and what an awesome, awesome honor. And as it got closer, knowing this theme is joy this month, it was just kind of funny. It's like, God, you have such a good sense of humor. You know, because in the last 30 days alone, I have faced some of the most devastating challenges of my life. Yeah. 30 days ago today, my dad passed away. And I love my dad. And he's free. so it's okay. Whew, and the next day, I was served with my 60-day notice to move out of my beautiful home, that I live in this beautiful oceanfront home on the west side. And then the next week, my tenant said, I found my perfect place to live next. So she's going to move out July 1st. That leaves me kind of high and dry for the rent. I'm like, great, I'm happy for you, and that sucks for me, you know? And then, just to really put the cherry on top, one of my favorite clients is downsizing her business. And she says, oh, so I need to scale back our contract of work together. And it was like, oh, okay, like, that's a lot of challenges. That's a lot of circumstances in 30 days, right? Yeah, and I'm not saying this to garner your, like, oh, poor you, because it's not poor me. It's like, whoa, what a sign. What a sign that life is saying, it's time to change a few things, sister. It's time to fly and be free, right? So I had to, like, lean in and expand and surrender to each and every one of those circumstances. And I had to just expand myself and choose who I wanted to be in the moment, in the face of those circumstances. Because that's what resilience is. It's choosing who you want to be in the face of the circumstances. And when I did that, do you know what happened? Miracles. I had an honest conversation with my landlady, and I said, look, I'm not going to rent the place out because it's only for a month. So she said, you know what? I'll move in my office. I'll move my home office in early, so don't worry about that. So I'm off the hook for that rent. Within 2 days of the client telling me she's downsizing, I got another lead, and I just signed a new contract to replace that income. So, like, all these circumstances aren't stopping me from being fully expressed as the joy that I am here to express. So I can look at those circumstances, and I can see them like a wall, or I can see them like a door. And that's how I choose to see those circumstances. Because, man, and I'm not saying they haven't been hard and I didn't have my down-for-the-count moments. Like, gotta be real with you. Like, it's tough. Losing people is tough. I will be in the most random place, like a grocery store, and a song will come on the radio, and I will start bawling my eyes out. You know, it's like, I love my dad, you know? So it's like, you gotta be real with yourself, but you've gotta keep choosing joy. So as you're doing this assessment for yourself, and you're really asking yourself, am I available to joy? You gotta think about what reasons you put in the way of that joy. And the way that I see a lot of people, what gets in the way of their joy, it's not too pretty. I know there's a lot of different things, but I'll share 2 specific ways that I see people getting in their way around their joy every day. And the first one is that we tolerate mediocrity. We put up with life. We think, this is all there is. This is all I deserve. We let those little inner beliefs be like, well, don't want more. That's just too much. People will judge you, right? Anyone have that one? Yeah. We start to go to sleep and we go on autopilot. And you know that poet Rumi? He says, the breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep, right? Because when we go back to sleep, we're on autopilot. And that might be comfortable, but it's not very fulfilling, right? It's not very fulfilling. And I learned a really powerful tool when I was doing this body of work called Lucid Living. Hi, Janine and Lisa, if you're watching online. They're fabulous. We learned about the frequencies of emotions. And in the practitioner training, we learned about the continuum, right? That there's this continuum of emotions that we're always on, and that our emotions run at specific frequencies. And so in Lucid Living, we learned that there's 3 tiers, like 3 different levels of emotions and emotional frequencies. And the lowest frequency is like hopelessness and despair. Like, feel into that energy. It's like, oh, we can all feel something we're feeling hopeless around in our lives right now. And at the top of the emotional tiers is joy and bliss and love and that freedom. Can you feel that? Yeah. So breathe into that with me. And this is how we move into choice, right? Because all we have to do is notice we're on this level of this frequency at any given point in time, right? And the breakthrough that I learned with these tiers of emotion was that on the lower end of the highest tier of emotion is contentment, right? That, like, life is good, all is well, right? And what I learned is that when you sit in contentment long enough, and if you don't feed it with gratitude and reach for the joy, then you sit in contentment, and you sit in contentment, and it's like, yeah, life is good. It's good, and this is all there is, and it goes down to boredom. Contentment, when it is not nurtured into something higher, will turn into boredom. Do you get that? That's pretty amazing. It's like, oh, and then if you sit in the boredom and you're like, well, life is good, but is this all there is? And then you start getting frustrated, like, come on, I mean, there's got to be something else here. And then that you might start getting angry of like, why are you so perfect all the time? You know, you might have a perfect relationship. You're like, stop being so perfect. Why are you such a good spouse to me? Stop that. And you start picking fights and nitpicking each other, and it starts to devolve your frequency, and you can feel your spiral downward. Can you feel that? If you sit in the boredom, then it gets to frustration, then it goes to anger, and then you're just like, ugh. Pretty soon you're yelling at traffic. It's amazing. I heard this funny, it was on Facebook the other day, and it said, when you get mad at traffic, you have to realize you are the traffic. I was like, oh, there's that. I am a participant in the traffic that I'm complaining about, yay. So there's that. So the opportunity at hand, when you feel how content you are, when we're standing in a level of life is good, but life also expands and it seeks to grow and change. It's the nature of life, right? We can't reach some pinnacle and just think it's going to be all there is and then we're happy, right? You have to keep nurturing it to reach for the joy, right? So when you're in contentment, it's like, ooh, how good can I stand it? How can I expand this even more? How can I reach for the joy and take it even higher? Are you willing to reach for the joy? High five the person next to you and say, I'm reaching for joy. Awesome. Thank you. Now, the second way I see us getting in our way around our joy is about where we focus. We've been talking about this all month with the Reverend. What you focus on grows. What is your attention focusing on? Are you looking for the way you want to expand your joy? Or are you looking for all the ways that somebody did you wrong and how bad and stupid and ugly and wrong they are? Right? That's going to take you somewhere, but it's not going to take you to joy. Right? And how we focus is with our thoughts and our words and our behaviors. And this is what we know. In this spiritual community, we know that life is interpretation. And that through our perception, when we're filtering through the experiences of our life, we have a choice to interpret it through the past and how something was wrong, or we can say, what's a new way I can look at this? And we can focus on looking for the good in what is happening. Mahatma Gandhi had a really great quote. You might want to write this down. It's a long one. And it says, let me read it. Here we go. Keep your thoughts positive because they become your words. Keep your words positive because they become your behaviors. Keep your behaviors positive because they become your habits. Keep your habits positive because they become your values. Keep your values positive because they become your destiny. So do you feel that the seed thoughts that you plant today become the destiny that you live into? So we have to mind our mind. You know, we have to clear this channel by tending to the thoughts and the words that we speak, not just out there in the world, but most importantly to ourselves. We have to be really compassionate with ourselves, to accept that we are the human beings that we are, and that's okay. Do you get that? And I love the power of that, because it's the power of the word. The power of the word, and it's all made up. So make it good. You know, if you're going to make it up, make it really good. You know? I mean, I always tell my clients, when you have these thoughts, it's like there's a river of thoughts that are going by. And where we get confused is we think we are in the river. We think those thoughts are who we are. No, we're a human being, a spiritual being having human experience. and we are experiencing these thoughts. But if you imagine yourself and you cultivate the inner observer, you can see yourself on the side of that river. And you can notice the thoughts that are going by, and you can say, oh, that's an interesting thought. And then you can see, oh, there's other thoughts too, so let me pick the good ones, right? And sometimes when a thought is just like right in your face and it's just like nagging at you, it's like, thank you for sharing. Here's what I'm more committed to. And you have to powerfully and consciously choose a new thought, right? There's a whole piece I'm not going to go into about the neural pathways of thought, but that really is, you are literally creating a new groove for your brain to start believing, right? And that will create those habits that will inform the behavior informs the habits that will then be something you live into at a much higher frequency than if you were to entertain those negative thoughts and spiral down. Make sense? Yeah. So this just reminds me, when I think about it all being made, this all being made up, and just it's just this channel that we're here. It's like we're making this up, so make it good, and we're clearing this channel so that we can be joy-filled. And I was having a conversation with my friend a few weeks ago about being joy-filled, and she said something really fascinating to me that I want to share with you. She was getting some blood tests done, and she looked up the metaphysical meaning of blood. You know, Louise Hay has that book that you can look up the metaphysical meaning of different things. So she looked up blood, and the meaning of blood is fascinating to me. It is related to your ability to receive and express joy. Blood is related to your ability to receive and express joy. So do you know the good news? The really good news? Do you want to hear it? Okay, lean in and say, Sarah, give us the good stuff. Awesome. So what that means to me is that right now in this very moment, joy is circulating through your body. Right now. You don't have to do another thing. You don't have to learn a new thing. You don't have to make new friends. Right now, your blood, the very life force of your being, is circulating joy. Do you feel that? Breathe into that. Life is circulating through your being by your heart beating. Joy is circulating through your being just by your heart beating. That's pretty magical, right? So feel that. Know that whenever you feel yourself getting a little off course, you feel yourself being frustrated with something, or you feel a little distant from your joy, you might just want to do a little check-in and go, well, let's see. Is my heart still beating? Yeah? Okay, there must be joy somewhere here. Let me start looking for that joy so that I can start reaching for that joy, and I can start up-leveling my emotional frequency, right? Do you see how this ties together? We reach for the joy, we up-level our emotional field, and then we keep minding our mind to mine for the thoughts that are going to elevate us. And then we get to just relax and know that really even all the work I just said about minding your mind doesn't matter. There's joy in every single cell of your body right now. I mean, feel that. There's like every single cell of your body is doing a little happy dance. It's like, woohoo, yeah. And this reminds me of the fire element. The fire element is the season that we are in right now, according to the 5 elements of Chinese medicine. And the fire element is that high noon sun. It's the summer solstice time where you just want to play and be free and run around on the beach, and you want to like have passion and joy and freedom and just have a blast. It's about having really clean and clear communication. It's about being a part of a great community and knowing and expanding all of your being into your life, right? With joy, with pleasure. Doesn't that feel good? I want to like shake it out and be like, ooh, I got some joy in here. Yeah. Well, bringing this to this whole blood thing, I realized that, we are the blood cells of life. Like if there's only one of us here and we are the entities that represent God being fully expressed in the world, that means that we are the blood cells of life circulating the joy into the world. Isn't that kind of cool? Whoa, yeah, give it a clap. That's a good one. Yeah. Blood is that we are these blood cells of life, and we are circulating that joy into the world. I just want to keep really grounded in this, because I really do believe it is our birthright. Joy is your birthright. It is the very nature of who we are, and as the fire element teaches us to keep the channel clear, to burn away the impurities so that we can claim the authority over our life. We can speak the word of authorship and authority. You can take the throne and say, I rule, and I rule with joy. I rule with ease and grace. Are you feeling that? Yeah. So take a deep breath in. Let that joy just keep simmering. Yeah. And knowing that we are the blood cells of life, emanating that joy into the world, it reminds me of the very first spiritual truth that I ever learned. I was in kindergarten. I know it's a young age to learn a spiritual truth, but this is when it happened for me. So it's what it is. So I was in kindergarten, and the Sunday school teacher said, God is like a diamond, and we are all facets of that diamond. And it was the first time I heard God is like a diamond, and we are all facets of that diamond. And I thought, yeah, that was this resonance deep within me said, yes, that is true. And it was the first time someone had articulated God in a way that gave me a very empowered worldview, because I saw that I was a part of the whole. Do you see that? And even further, I saw that it takes all of us for that diamond to shine brilliantly in the world. Yeah. So when we start to fill that channel with the doubt and the uncertainty, we're dimming the joy. When we start to go into autopilot and falling asleep on our lives, we're dimming the joy. And that's not okay with me anymore, because right now, the world needs a lot more joy. Yes? Yes. And right now, it is to me, it feels like God, the opportunity to shine is even more important for you to claim. Because the more you can shine, the brighter that diamond is going to be out there, the more joy will be out there in the world, yeah? So high five someone and say, I'm ready for more joy. Thank you. So focusing on the joy, focusing on breathing in and knowing that you are a channel for joy to live and breathe and be in this world, and it is your divine birthright to have that joy, you know. And in addition to minding our mind, the fire element reminds us to purify, to burn off the impurities, and that's like what covers up the diamond shining, right? It's the places where we put on the masks of inauthenticity, where we try to show up in the world and we try to look good and we say the right thing, or it's where we withhold ourselves from others, you know, because when we start to dim our light, we start to go onto autopilot. And when that happens, what we start to do to get the little tinge of spark is we start creating drama in our lives. And so suddenly, especially in our relationships, right, we'll get some like dramatic story, and that drama might spark some excitement for a moment, but it's no replacement for joy, for really true joy. So when you notice yourself spinning some dramatic story, especially with ones you love, you know it's time to stand up and start telling the truth. And you gotta start telling yourself the truth, right? You gotta be real with yourself first, and then you've gotta start telling on yourself with those you love. And that means letting them in with vulnerability and authenticity and saying, you know what? I've been withholding love from you because, you know, it's easier for me to make you wrong and be right so that I really don't have to feel how scared I am and how vulnerable I feel because I love you so much, right? And then you get to design the relationship with them and say, you know what? When I start snapping at you, please don't take it on. Please remind me, like hold me bigger than I'm holding myself in that moment. And remind me, like stop me and say, hey, speak from your heart. Speak from your heart. And that'll remind me to drop into my heart and speak from that place and tell you the truth. And it'll have me take off that mask of uncertainty and doubt and fear. And it'll have me start to shine a little brighter because I know that I am held with joy and love just by my very being. That I don't have to prove myself to you to be a great partner. I just have to be more me. Does that make sense? Yeah, so take a deep breath in. Oh, this is good stuff. Yeah, so you're going to clear the channel. You're going to mind your mind and create a practice of gratitude to keep up leveling your frequency of emotion. Does that sound like a good plan? I had a really beautiful inspiration. Last week was our last week in the choir of our choir season. And before we had our rehearsal that morning on Sunday, is Tomas in the room? He did this beautiful prayer for the choir. And he said this word that really sparked for me, and I want to share it with you. And that is, you are the spark of love and life that began since the beginning of time. You were born of love since the beginning of time. Do you get the baton has been carried through your DNA every single generation? Yeah. You are so loved. You are so filled with light and joy. And it reminds me of this time that I was in a teepee in Sedona, because that's what you do when you go on retreats. You sit in teepees in Sedona and you meditate, right? Has anyone ever sat in a teepee in Sedona, or is it just me? Okay, good. I am not alone in sitting in a teepee in Sedona, Arizona, but it's a beautiful thing to do, and I highly recommend it. So there I was, meditating in a teepee in Sedona, and this particular retreat was about connecting with the ancestors. And I felt the power of the lineage, of that life force that was in my very blood in this lifetime. And I was listening to my ancestors speak all of their joys, all of their challenges, the pain that they had endured and everything that they had endured to become who they were. And that legacy that they were giving me to be a light force for love on this planet. Can you feel that for your legacy? Yes. And in that moment, I also saw and I felt the joy that they were never allowed. The joy that they could never experience for whatever reason. And I made a commitment in that moment. And I not only committed to be the clearest expression of joy and love for myself in this lifetime, but I said, you know what? I am claiming that joy for you. I am going to live the love that they never allowed themselves to have. I'm going to live the love that and the joy that they never had permission to be. And so I want to ask you to please commit to being the love, to being the joy that you are here to live, not just for yourself, but for all of those who came before you, who never were allowed, who never had the chance. And if it doesn't resonate to go to your ancestral place, I say look around this world right now, because there are so many that need you to shine that love and shine that joy for them. Because if we truly are all God right here, right now, shining bright, then we need to shine a little bit brighter for those who can't. Do you get that? Yeah. So how good can you stand it? How much joy are you willing to live right now, today, every day, this year? Can you feel yourself breathing into that? Breathe it in and expand, and you can feel the spiral up. And remember, joy is a choice. And let that be your mantra. How good can I stand it? How much love can I share? How much joy can I share with the world? Because that is why we are here. Let us pray.